Coming to you straight from the Rio Grande and beyond. Broadcasting to the four corners of the globe. So grab your seat, your coffee, or your sundowner.
Okay, everybody, here we go.
On point, as always. This is Gloves Off. Gloves Off.
Wherever you call home, we are there. In favorite places, large spaces, for many homes we have coverage that fits the way you live. And with our home systems protection, you can cover major home appliances and more. We cover more type of homes than ever. Get the coverage you and your family deserves. For a free no obligation quote, visit us online or simply give us a call.
Back at you and Gloves Off, and today we have a great guest, an old man just like me, and has been around the block a little bit more, and strong man, been to fitness, been to combative sports, into executive protection, into security. And we're going to touch base on just a little bit about confrontations and what occurs. With me is Jesse Murrieta. How we doing, my brother? You doing good?
How you doing, brother? Doing great. Yourself?
Good. Glad to have you back on, man.
Oh, great to be back. Seriously, it's been too long.
It's been too long. Exactly right. And last time you were doing some security detail down in the border and stuff like that, and you were telling me how that was going. You're still doing that?
Yes, sir. No, actually, I left that. I was still connected to the company out there, and they are still out there. And they asked me to go back, and they wanted me to continue where we left off, which was New Mexico, into Arizona. And they wanted me to lead the team. But at the time, I honestly, to be really honest, I was done. We did some stuff, and I mean, we're just, it was what it was, and that was it. I came back to Tucson, got involved with some other stuff, some other projects, and whatever have you not, and I just did not have that level of commitment to actually go back for another year or two or what have you not.
Absolutely. And
it was fun though.
Of course, it would be fun. But there's a lot of things that occur during those, when you're doing those details and protection and security and stuff like that, and sometimes it can go off the wire and become very dangerous real quick, the chaoticness.
100%.
And when that occurs, a lot of people do not seem to realize the chaos and the violence, how it can happen in a very short period of time. And that's what I want to talk to you about.
Okay.
We've always talked a little bit about everything else in combative sense.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of questions now are coming up with how important is strength and conditioning in a combative situation, and the training methods and all that stuff that goes on.
It is, I mean, it's paramount, honestly. If you peter out, you're done. And if you're in charge of somebody else's safety, and once again you go down, they're done. The one thing, especially like when I wasn't heavily involved in executive protection, was I was always told by my handlers, my trainers, my mentors, you're going to protect yourself first before you protect the third party, being your client. Because if you're done, they're done. And this is another reason why you also cross-train your client. They have to learn how to apply a tourniquet for themselves. If you go down, they got to be able to pick up your sidearm and use it to protect themselves, and so forth. They got to know how to drive that vehicle out of there. They are just as much part of that protective security detail team as you are, as either team leader or just a grunt. And a lot of people don't realize that. A lot of clients don't realize that.
Yeah. A lot of people don't realize that, an FBI stats is, they say that, most altercations last between 7 to 9 seconds. And people say, no, more and this and that. No, and actually it's only that much, because people get one, 2 punches, 3 punches, that's the end of the story. Usually it's punches, right? Or a knife attack or what have you. But and then it goes on into, if it goes into further, there's people around that are going to get involved. people are going to go to the ground, police or security or what third party is going to get involved if it extends into 20 seconds abroad. And
Yes.
and that's where this comes in, as you've been a long time martial artist as well.
Mhm.
What strength, what force, the force that we all carry, the strength
Mhm.
building. What are the best ways one can train towards that? I want to hear that from you.
I've always been in fitness since I was probably 12 going on to 13. Uh, my great grandfather was extremely fit. This is a man who would wake up at 3 in the morning and he was out and back doing his calisthenics and what have you not, his sprints. He would lift stones, heavy stones, uh, things of that nature. It was like a junkyard gym, if you will, not like your traditional gym. So I was always heavily influenced by him. He was kind of like my mentor, my hero growing up. When from the age of 13 to I now, I heavily got into fitness, but it was via the martial arts is how I got into it. So they've always gone hand in hand. And I've done everything from the bodybuilding aspect of things. I'm not a bodybuilder. I'm not built like a bodybuilder, never was. I don't have those genetics. But I trained like one. I enjoyed it. I had fun doing it. I dieted like one. I took the supplements and what have you not throughout the years. And I'm not ashamed to admit it. I'm man enough to admit it, actually, is I've used PEDs here and there and what have you not. I'm 1,000% clean now at 52, thank God. And throughout the years from bodybuilding to powerlifting, which was that I kind of segued from the whole bodybuilding aspect of things over to powerlifting, and that was a lot of fun because you really get to test your strength, build your strength. It's three lifts you got to like excel at: the deadlift, the bench press, the deadlift, the bench press, and the squat. Squat's never been my thing, but I still enjoyed it. I did some local competitions doing that. It was a lot of fun. But as far as like going back to the bodybuilding thing, I've always kind of delved into like bodybuilding type workouts in the past. But then I kind of started getting away from it because it does concentrate more on like, and this is no offense because I got a lot of friends that compete in bodybuilding and what have you not, but it's more into the aesthetics. It's more into the show muscles on stage and what have you not. It's a lot of hard work they put themselves through. I'm not taking that away from them,
Absolutely.
but it wasn't lending towards combatives at all whatsoever. And so little by little, I started moving away from that, and I started sort of like just researching other methods from kettlebells became a big part of my training program. More dumbbells than barbells, to be honest with you. I started getting into it with strongman. I got into strongman about 7 years ago or so, and that was really that. What I loved about the strongman it's kind of that one lent a little bit more towards like the combative side of things than all the other ones ever did. There's just very, very specific movements, as I like to call them, they're mission specific movements, and that's kind of what led to like this hybrid system of conditioning training that I do now, and that's everything from sandbags to resistant bands are huge, huge, huge in my training, program, if you will.
Yeah, you're correct. And I did powerlifting when I was in my upper teens. So we started more or less around the age of 15, in the weights, right? And it worked at bodybuilding gym when I was in college, in the early years, and still did the martial arts, but the strength came hand in hand with that because I was
Yes.
more into powerlifting. I was more into
Right.
strength. If I do bench right now, I can on any given workout, I'll be benching between. I can use 200 as well as 225, and I can pick up
Right.
325. You know what I'm saying? So I can bench 325, but
Mhm.
the workouts are more like a power strongman type
Right.
work. You know, the strength wise for that. On the strength that what you need in case something happens in a combative situation. I
Yes.
know that, and I fought in the ring too, but everything changed because
Mhm.
in the ring you have to be a lot faster, you have to be a lot quicker. So weightlifting you wanted to do it less, but you wanted more reps in case of, you know what I'm saying? So
Oh
so
yes.
everything changed, even though you can pick up 300 and weigh 215, and if you're 5'7", 215, you're going to be fighting guys that are 6'4". You know what I'm saying? That are faster. So a bunch of that stuff's matter. So you drop back to about 168. So
Right.
in the ring, it's different than in the street, and I think you and I
Right.
can agree. But in the
Oh
street,
yes.
you know who or what is in front of you, and
Hmm.
I think strength is one of the attributes that one needs to be producing in case something like that continues. I don't know if you agree with me.
Oh, 100% I do. Absolutely. There's no doubt. It's strength and explosiveness,
That's
which is
those are the words.
very, very important. I will not, I don't do laps and, around a track field or anything like that. I don't do long distance runs. I do sprints 2, 3, 4 days out of the week. I do sprints up and down my long driveway over here with my plate carrier, my actual armor plate carrier I wore out in the field that's loaded down. And I just try to explode and just run as quick as I can. I do several, a few rounds back and forth. Uh, and that for me, that adapts more towards or lends more towards combatives than let's say like a long distance run would. And I'm not knocking people that do that, but that's just not me.
No, yeah, no, you're correct. There's different body types and such like that, and there's a difference between urban combatives
Mhm.
in a and somebody in fitness towards being a soldier in the military, and then of course our elite special forces. Right there's
Right,
differences. Their conditioning is a lot different than a person that's going to be conditioned as a civilian in case something happens, right?
right,
And, because that
absolutely.
the altercation, even though it can happen and it's happening more frequently, but it will happen in a short space, like in a corner store or where you're leaving your grocery store, or you're leaving the ATM. What happened? That's when it's going to be there.
Oh, 100%, yes, 100%.
And so when people say, well, military training and I do rucking and everything else, beautiful. If you can do
Hmm.
that, go. You can train with those. You can get with a couple of guys that do that. And get into those groups if that's what you want to
Absolutely.
do. You think for,
Mhm.
but if not, now strength wise for punching conditioning, for kicking conditioning, for that type. What do you think the exercises would be?
Not to sound like a broken record, but I am such a huge proponent of resistant bands. They mimic more combative movements, if you will, or they adapt a lot better towards that goal than let's say a dumbbell would,
Mhm.
or cables like cables your traditional commercial gym. With the resistant bands or tubes, like let's say for example like this one right here, the positive as you push it out, it takes a certain amount of control, obviously, but it activates muscles that let's say a barbell would not, or a dumbbell would not. It activates muscles that you would actually use in a real world physical combative situation. And then the negative on there, you control the negative. You can make it last 20 seconds, you can make it last 4 seconds. It doesn't really matter. But again, it mimics more natural movement than let's say a cable or an actual dumbbell or a barbell or anything like that. So I'm really big on, especially with the students I have, is utilizing resistant band training within when we're having our combative classes and so forth, because it does mimic more reality than anything else as far as real muscles for that situation.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, what would be the first three key things between strength, explosiveness, and in condition? And I'll call all that conditioning. What will else be the
Mm-hmm.
resistance, explosiveness, and strength? That'll
And
be the
muscle endurance. I would say
muscle.
muscle endurance. Yeah, muscle endurance for sure. And it's not like the triathlon type of endurance or anything like that. When it hits the fan, when the fecal matter hits the fan, uh, if you're conditioned to once well, for starters be able to handle the adrenaline dump, glucose, your glucose levels like they go straight up. I mean, they shoot straight high, and it's in order to give your muscles that it's your body saying, okay, we're about to bang heads with somebody or whatever have you not. We need the energy. We need that energy, and you get that from glucose, and which goes into the muscles, and that's what gives you the explosiveness and the energy to continue going. If your diet's off, if your training's off, and what have you not, then that means everything in your body's going to be off, obviously. So if you're not properly training the muscle endurance, and this is not the kind of endurance I'm saying like from a bike or a roller or whatever, a treadmill or anything like that. Once again, going back to that the resistant bands and throwing in those extra. The moment you feel like you're going to peter out, you know what? Suck it up and throw in a couple extra strikes in there or a couple presses in there or what have you not. Create that muscle endurance. Whenever we train and we're running drills, we're not timing these rounds. It's like my own Muay Thai instructor, my own Muay Thai coach and grappling coach used to tell me back when I was a kid, is your match is probably going to be like maybe 2 minutes and maybe 3 rounds of it. But you know what? You're going to train for 9 minutes. You're going to train for 10 minutes. We're going to keep going. You're going to create that extra, once again, muscular endurance. And it's totally different from other forms of endurance. Because once the muscles give out, and your muscles start to seize, you're done. I mean, you are literally done. It's like when I was in special operations team at the prison, my commanding officer used to say, it's like fatigue will make a coward out of all men. And once you're done, you're done. So a lot of it is muscle endurance because that fight may not last, longer than 7 seconds. But if you peter out in 3, you're done.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. If you don't have the resistance, the endurance, and the strength to move forward, forget about it. And 7 seconds, 9 seconds, 10 seconds, it's a lot.
It's going to feel like
it's a lot.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And and you're like me. We study all the videos every weekend of everything that comes out, all the fights that occur around the world, and everybody posts. Nobody's going to go in there and help you, and there's always going to be that third party attacker. And if that third party attacker, you better have enough strength to go back up that other one too, because you might have just taken care of business right here within 7 seconds. But how about the next guy? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So
absolutely.
You have to, of course, if
once that bloodlust,
huh?
No, absolutely. Once that bloodlust, especially working at the bars, if you're locked horns with somebody and you're doing your deal as bouncer, security, whatever you want to call them, the next one that jumps in may not even know this individual. It's that bloodlust that kind of spreads like a disease and it hits everybody, and then they start picking sides. And next thing you know, hey, bouncer, he's beating down this guy. I'm going to jump the bouncer now. People don't prepare for that.
Absolutely. It's that frenzy. Once that frenzy hits.
Oh, yeah.
And only people that have been through them understand them. The rest of the people think it's some type of, how can I say, conspiracy that's out there. I love to use that word, They think, that doesn't happen. Yeah, watch it doesn't happen. Get into a fight. The guy that was dancing with a girl across the bar is going to run over and kick you.
Yep, absolutely.
So those are the dangers of those situations. That's why conditioning is a must.
Absolutely.
Now,
absolutely.
Let's put it to you this way. How should one start conditioning and strength training? Because a lot of people, as well as I know, we've been to many gyms. People go to a gym, unless they have a personal trainer, that personal trainer is going to try to build them up to what he thinks they should be. not for what that person needs.
Perfectly stated. Yes.
And usually the guy, what?
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And usually what occurs is they're training you for something else, so how should one start? You go in there cold, you don't know anything, you go into a gym. How would you lead somebody into the gym firsthand?
I think honestly, first of all, they're gonna have to come up with mission statement of their own. So what is it? Anybody that, again, I have not entered a commercial gym in, oh my gosh, we're talking about the last time I was inside a commercial gym was back in 1999. Like that's how long it's been. A buddy of mine purchased it's kind of like a hammer strength. Anybody that's familiar with various types of machine and equipment, but it's kind of like a multiple station kind of deal, leverage machine that uses real plates and so forth. So little by little over these years, I've acquired my own equipment as I go along. And even when I started doing the strongman, I didn't go to a gym to actually train strongman. I actually just bought the stuff on my own. And so it's been a while since I've been inside a commercial gym. And with everything going on in these commercial gyms these days, everybody's taking, videos of themselves, pictures, or talking smack about other people just so that they can get content for their TikTok or whatever have you, not just make fun of some poor schmuck trying to work out. That's kind of another reason why I kind of got turned off from going to any commercial gyms anymore. But anybody who does have plans on doing so, first come up with a plan. Like realize what are you going in there for? Are you going there to get fit? Are you going there to lose weight, gain weight? Whatever it is. If you really want conditioning, if you have it in your head already, conditioning is what I want. Do your homework. It's literally all about intelligence gathering. Do your homework, find resources, and so on and so forth. I mean, I can name, we'd be here all day. I mean, books, individuals that I follow in the combative world that would say the same thing, And so realize what is it you're going for? Are you already training in combatives? And if so, which one or what? Is it jujitsu? Is it this? I mean, whatever it may be. If you're going for more reality-based combatives, again, do your homework. Get fit. Just simply get fit. Start out by just going there and just getting, get familiar with the gym and just, go put yourself through just a regular workout. Get your overall physical conditioning down pat, but then start researching in other methods. Like I was mentioning, like the kettlebells and the resistant bands and so on and so forth, all the things to do with that more towards personal combatives. But the first thing is just to get familiar with the entire process.
Absolutely, you could. Yeah, you said it. And people do not understand that. You have to be able to go inside, understand what you're looking for. Because people say, that people, I get people that call me all the time. First thing they say is, I want to learn self-defense. Okay, well, so what in self-defense do you want? So if you want self-defense and they end up going to a boxing gym, well, boxing's going to teach you how to box in the ring. It's totally two different things. It's going to teach you how to fight.
Oh, yeah.
So so you go in there and people quit. No, that's not for me. All martial arts sucks. No, it's because you have to find what you're looking for. Or you want to go into a combative gym and they end up going into a local, kick punch grocery store type of martial arts school, and they see a bunch of kids up and down, and they're like, "Well, martial arts sucks." No, you have to find out what martial art is for you.
Yes.
Not what you're looking for. A lot of people do not know the difference between sumo wrestling and capoeira, and
yes.
You know what I'm saying? And so you have to understand that, there's parameters for that. Or they say, I want to fight. I want to go in the ring. You're 42 years old, man. It's over. You know what I'm saying? Sorry. You can't learn. That just means you're not going to go in the ring anymore. Not as an athlete. It doesn't happen. Maybe, that's why jiu-jitsu is very big, because it caters to those individuals that didn't compete when they were younger in a combative sport. Now they're in their 40s and 50s, and they can go in there, and it's a lot more protective in the sense.
It is.
Wrong. It's a they're great arts, not knocking them down, but it's a different story. Don't
Oh,
be
yes, it is.
going to go into boxing.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean you
Absolutely.
can't, doesn't mean you can't do it for yourself. But if you're going to go in there and try to go to golden gloves, it's not going to happen.
No, 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 never.
You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
not. No, so there's a difference. There's differences, and so you have to understand. Or you go to boxing and you want to actually learn combatives like silat with knives and stuff like that, and or eskrima or something that's more on the combative essence of it.
Right,
And so
right.
for that, do your research. Do your people need to do your research,
Oh, yes, 100%.
and then do your conditioning after that. That's how serious you are.
Absolutely.
Also, what are you doing it for? Like you said,
Yes, absolutely.
if I'm gonna be learning, I'm here. I need to protect my wife. I need to protect my kids, and I understand the time frame of how everything works in reality. I'm gonna condition in a different manner.
Oh, yes. No,
You know,
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's and missions will change as time goes on. With me, I'm not out there, running and gunning and all that good stuff anymore. I'm 52 years old and I got injuries like to boot. It's ridiculous how bad these injuries have gotten over the years. It's because you've lived a hard life, obviously. I don't regret any of that. But now it's like I want to be conditioned. I want to be on top of my game, for my wife, for my new family, for their safety and for mine. So yes, those missions do change. So you have to adapt to those missions.
absolutely. And it just depends. And but strength and condition, like you said, is something that I've always harped on. I like the old world, the Indian clubs and joris and all that kind
Yes,
of, because that gets you prepared to a type of a battlefield mentality in case you do
right.
have to do something.
Absolutely.
Now,
Absolutely.
what parts of the body should one develop more than the others in that type of conditioning? The core, your arm.
Not not
How would you take it?
not to sound like a broken record, but yes, I would have to say your core. A core has I mean, that's where everything comes from, obviously. On the ground, on your knees, on your side, standing up. If you don't have a strong core, and the core we're talking about, it's not just everything's it's your abs. No, no, it's not your shoma, it's not your six pack or anything like that. It's your abs, it's your obliques, it's your hip muscles, it's your tie-ins, it's your lower back. That's all your core right there. Um, in strongman training, I mean, we're consuming like 10,000 calories and what have you not, and yeah, we get these big old bellies, but these bellies are like hard as hell. They're like we call them like gorilla guts or power bellies, and because we use them, we literally use them in the movements that we're doing, from the explosiveness to even just loading a giant stone on our gut to get it over the wall and what have you not. But if you don't have that strong core, you're not lifting anything over your head. If you don't have a strong core, you're not going to be able to do a hip heist if you got someone mounted on you on the ground. None of that. I mean, there's nothing you can do. And you can't even climb or run properly if your core sucks. So yeah, 100% strong, a strong, powerful core hit all the muscles there. Not just crunches or your deadlifts, your ab exercises and what have you not. There's so much you can do for, even once again, going back to resistance bands and so forth. But if you have that strong core, that is definitely it's a foundation. It's the overall foundation to strengthen the machine, if you will, and make you more combat effective.
Absolutely, absolutely. But anything else you'd like to tell people out there what they need to do, or any counsel?
Just once again, don't fall for fads or anything like that. Don't fall for the quick fix. Take it from somebody who, like I said, I'm not ashamed to admit. I mean, I've used PEDs over the years for whether I was competing or what have you not. I refuse to have any regrets. It was what it was, and I own up to it. Did they help? Yes, they did. But I worked hard. Even when I was taking them, I worked very, very, very hard to get the results I wanted. But don't take the shortcuts and don't fall for the fads. It's a good diet, obviously. It does start in the kitchen. And you know, I know everybody says try and get enough sleep, and I'd be a hypocrite if I told you I get a lot of sleep, because I don't. I sleep like crap, but I try, and I'm trying. But try and rest. Don't let your, most importantly, do not let your ego get in the way, because your ego will put you in the grave real fast. I think that's about it, actually. That's all I can think of right now.
Absolutely. I'm glad you said it, because it's true. Your ego will get you in the grave. You know, there's an old saying, there's a lot of brave eagles in the cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
And
exactly.
So there's a difference. You know, you have to have the strength and conditioning to prevail. And one needs to take those. And if you're going to be training seriously, you better take that as well.
Absolutely.
Well, my brother, it was great talking. It was great touching base on this subject. And
that was awesome, dude.
But we'll continue. And folks, we'll leave you with this. Our time's running out. You guys be safe, stay safe, and God bless you all. Until next time, much peace.
So when I was working on Selena, the series for Netflix, to play the role of Abraham Quintanilla, I put on a specific amount of weight, which I was fine doing, but also realizing it could be difficult to get that weight off. I got back into my physical regimen with James Leha, but I was still having trouble with just those last amounts. And that's when I got to meet Arturo from Laredo Medical Weight Loss Clinic. And just the products that he gave me kind of put me over the edge. I feel great about myself.